Hansel and Gretel, you are dear smart kids. You will find safety when father and stepmother take you out. Use your brain and you will be all right. Use your brain and you will be all right. Well, hello there.
Hello.
Ruby here.
Uh-huh.
I told myself I was only going to have one piece of candy, but I guess I got a little carried away. You know, eating all of this yummy candy reminds me of a story my mother used to tell me as a child. Oh, this story is a good one, but it has some, well, scary moments.
Ew.
Do you like scary stories?
Yes.
Ah, yes. I do too. I have an idea. How about one more piece of candy, and then I'll tell you a scary story.
Yeah.
Don't worry. The end of the story is sweet. So grab a cup of warm milk, and let's watch and listen. Are you ready, my friends?
Yes.
Let's begin.
Let's go. Whoa.
Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there lived a father, his children Hansel and Gretel, and their stepmother. The family lived in a little cottage in the forest. The children adored their father, but their stepmother, not so much. Nancy married the children's father years after their dear mother had passed away. Late one evening, while the children were in bed, Nancy was talking to Herman. Herman, we aren't making enough money to feed these dumb kids. They're eating too much, and Gretel is lazy and talks too much. And Hansel doesn't know how to do a darn thing around this house. We need to get rid of them once and for all. Herman was shocked that the stepmother would be talking this way. What a nasty thing to say, Nancy. I love my children. They mean the world to me. Well, they might mean the world to you, but unless you want us all to starve, you better do as I say. If you don't, I will leave you, and I will burn this house down so you and your kids will have nothing. Nancy began telling him how they were going to carry through with this terrible plan. Tomorrow morning, when Hansel and Gretel wake up, we will tell them we are going for a hike in the forest. We will walk deep into the woods. We will build a fire and give them one last piece of bread. And while they are eating, we will tell them we are going to get some water from the river. But instead, we will leave the children in the forest all alone so they can't find their way back home. And then, my darling, we will be free. Oh, this is so upsetting. I think I need another piece of candy.
Good.
Oh, let's get back to the story. So, the father agreed with Nancy. Okay, we will do as you wish, my dear. Hopefully Hansel and Gretel can live on their own and find happiness elsewhere. Guess what? Hansel and Gretel were unable to sleep that night, and they overheard this frightful plan. Hansel, I can't believe that father and stepmother are going to be so cruel, cried Gretel. There, little sister, don't cry. I will somehow find a way to save us from this dreadful plan. Please now, Gretel, let's try to get some sleep and pray for our safekeeping. Hansel and Gretel climbed up into their beds and fell fast asleep. Hansel and Gretel, you are dear smart kids. You will find safety when father and stepmother take you out. Use your brain and you will be all right. Use your brain and you will be all right. boy, this story gets to me sometimes. Excuse me, while I have one more piece of candy.
Good.
Let's go, kids. We are going for a beautiful hike in the woods. We have some fresh bread to give you as a treat when we take a rest in the forest, said the stepmother. And off they went into the forest. Hours passed, and little Gretel was exhausted.
Father, please, I can't go any further. My legs hurt, and I'm very thirsty.
Oh, yes, of course, said Nancy. The children need to rest. Why don't you kids stay here and rest? And me and your father will go get you some water from the river. Here, take some fresh bread and relax a little bit. Right, Herman? Asked Nancy.
Yes. Let's go get the children some water,
said the father, and the two walked off away from the kids forever. Hansel and Gretel relaxed under a tree and ate their bread. They knew they were alone in the forest, and their father and stepmother were not coming back.
Gretel, don't be afraid. It will be dark soon, and that's okay. I'm using my brain, and I'm thinking of everything I can to save us from harm. We will make our way in this world together. I am your big brother, and I will take care of you. I promise,
said Hansel. Gretel felt so comforted by the words of her brother. When Hansel promised something, he always kept his word. So the two children walked throughout the night and all the next day. They were nowhere near home, and they were very, very tired. They saw what looked like a house several miles away.
Let's keep walking, Gretel. There may be someone in the house up yonder that can help us.
After a whole night and the following day walking, they were shocked at what they saw. There stood a beautiful gingerbread house with candy cane windows and chocolate bars of every kind, all on the house. Frosting and candy treats were shining on the door. It was a delicious sight. Ooh, all of this talk of candy is making me hungry. Perhaps I need another. Hansel and Gretel started nibbling on the house. I don't blame them. They were starving. And who doesn't like candy, right? All of a sudden, the door of the house opened, and a very old woman, leaning on a crutch, opened the door to welcome them in.
Oh, you poor little children. You look exhausted and filthy. You need a warm bed, cookies and milk, and a hot bubble bath, said the old woman.
She led them into the house and fed them and gave them warm beds to sleep in. The children were safe, right? Not quite yet. The old woman was actually a wicked old witch. She was as evil and nasty as your worst nightmare. She actually built that gingerbread house made of candy to tempt children to come in. Her evil plan was to fatten them up with all kinds of food and then cook them in the oven and have them for supper. Oh, the nerve of that nasty woman! The children woke up the next morning to a terrifying sight. The wicked old witch grabbed Hansel and carried him away to an old cage with a locking door. Then the old hag made Gretel cook and clean all day and all night.
You are going to fatten your brother up, and when he's fat enough, I'm going to eat him.
Poor Gretel. She was so upset, but she remembered her brother's words. Don't worry, little sister. I'm going to use my brain. I am thinking of everything I can to save us from harm, and I will take care of you. I promise. Every morning, the old witch would come over to the cage. She was so old, she couldn't see hardly at all, but she could sure smell.
Hansel, stick out your finger so I can see how fat you've grown. If you feel fat enough, I am going to eat you.
Hansel was a bright boy, and he realized that she was as blind as a bat. So he stuck out a little stick that he found in his cage.
Here you go. Here's my finger, Mrs. Nasty Witch.
The witch grabbed what she thought was his finger, but it was really a skinny little stick. This infuriated the old hag.
I don't care if you are thin or fat. I'm going to eat you up for my supper tonight. Gretel, go get the key and unlock this cage.
Gretel hurried to get the key, as she thought this would be the perfect time for the two children to try to escape this evil witch. She unlocked the door, and Hansel came walking out.
Now, the time has come for both of you to be my supper. Get in the oven. Now!
Screamed the old hag.
Use your brain and you will be all right.
Now, Gretel may have been small, but she was a very smart girl.
I am just a little girl, and I don't understand how to get in the oven.
You dumb fool! It's simple. Even an old woman like me can climb in,
screamed the witch. And with that, she walked up to the oven, leaned into it, and Gretel, with all her might, gave that witch a mighty shove, sending the old hag right into the fire, once and for all. Hansel and Gretel hugged each other and shouted,
"We are safe! We have used our brains, and now we are safe! The wicked old witch is finally gone!"
Before leaving the gingerbread house, they entered inside one last time to have a bite of candy. And wouldn't you know it, behind a chair, there was a treasure chest filled with gold coins.
Gretel, we can finally go home to Father and give him the gold coins, and he won't have to worry about feeding us, as we will have plenty of money to take care of all of us,
said Hansel. The two walked and walked through the forest with golden coins in their pockets, and off in the distance, they spotted their house that they had lived in before. They finally arrived home and knocked on the door. The father answered the door and was so surprised and happy to see his children, as he never wanted harm to come to them.
"Father, we are here, and we are safe. And we also have gold coins, so you will have enough money to feed us all. And we can live happily ever after," cried Gretel.
The father explained to the children how the stepmother threatened him if he didn't follow her plan.
I always knew you two were very smart, and that you knew how to use your brains. I knew you were going to be okay. I knew you were going to be safe.
The father also told the children that the stepmother had been eaten by a wolf a few days ago. The father and his children truly lived out the rest of their lives together, away from harm, and they had plenty of food and love for each other. Thank you for joining me here on Family Roberto. I hope you enjoyed the story. Ooh, my tummy is grumbling. I think I may have had too much candy over the course of this story. See you next time, my friends. And remember, you need to think before you do something, and always use your brain. You are very smart. Use your brain and you will be all right. Bye for now. Hansel and Gretel, you are dear smart kids. You will reality. When father and stepmother take you out, use your brain and you will be alright. Use your brain and you